Wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Deep Dive Astro-Tarot Forecast. My name is Mildred Murillo. I'm here with Susheela Kundargi, and we are here to give you your uh, August 2022 forecast. How are you, Susheela?
I'm great. It's a heck of a month. We're almost at our 1 year anniversary too.
I know, I was thinking about that. And it's been really interesting to do these every single month and how everything has shifted so drastically.
Yeah.
How people have come to themselves much more. And this month in particular is one of those months that is not going to allow us to kind of uh, get away from that. There is this coming to the self that has been unfolding slowly and slowly. And August is one of those months that puts a little bit of tension, a little bit of pressure to stay the course, to
Hmm.
stay the course of what you've discovered, to stay the course of what you've discovered about your self worth, your sense of value, um, not taking yourself or certain things for granted. It's it's a lot of, I feel one of the themes is appreciation, and appreciation at a different level, appreciation at a soul level,
Hmm.
appreciation for our internal resources that can align us with certain things in life and attract certain things in life rather than looking outside of ourselves for validation or for those resources. Um, how does August feel to you?
It's, you know, I mean, we spoke a little bit earlier, but we're being propelled forward. And it's not a rushed thing, but it's time to hop on. It's like,
Right.
the skateboard analogy, like you're going, 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 and then you hop on, and then you're not coasting, you're flying. There's a slight, you're on a little bit of a hill. You got to keep going. And I think the universe has sort of pulled a lot of things away from us that we've asked for. We have asked for assistance and guidance, and we've purged and purged and purged and purged and purged and purged. When we thought we purged some more, and we've been doing this for months and months and months, and it's paying
Yeah.
off because
Right.
we are lighter. We have removed all of these things, and it takes some time to integrate again. And then
Hmm.
you get faced with a situation that was similar to something that happened before, and you realize, the old pattern was this, but I don't feel that for some reason. And then you're faced with, like, wow, this is new, and you can't unlearn it, or you can't unknow it. It just becomes, this is the new thing. And people
Right.
and situations and things have been sort of removed from our sphere because we asked for it. They're not
Hmm.
they're not aligned to us anymore. They're not in our sphere. So they're just gone.
Hmm.
And we're in a new space. A lot of uncharted territory.
Yes, that uncharted territory is what I think can make us want to revert back to the old MOs and just finding like a block, like a roadblock. It's like, no, 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 keep going this way. Just trust me. Just keep going this way.
Yeah.
And I feel that this is the definition of, not necessarily finding love outside of yourself, but getting rid of everything that keeps you from finding it within yourself.
Hmm.
And love in the sense where we realize, in fact, how, again, resourceful, limitless, how much potential we actually have. And I think all of those things across the board, whether it's with work or love or whatever it is, it's like this recognition of, this is what I want. Why shouldn't I get to have it?
Yeah, I think a feeling of oneness,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
really realizing that it's not all these things out there, that it's within. And then when you go within, you realize you're already connected to all that stuff.
Right.
all the
right.
people and all the stuff and all the things that are, they're not outside of you, they are you. So
Hmm.
there's no separation there.
Right. So
Yeah.
August starts off with a bang, starts off with the full bang. I mean, the first day of August shows us exactly what the entire month of August is about, what energy it's going to unfold. And that is a triple conjunction between Taurus, Uranus, and the North Node. I'm sorry, Mars, Uranus, and the North Node in Taurus. So, just to give everyone a little bit of a scope, Uranus is the planet of the unexpected, of the upgrade, the up level, the leveling up of consciousness. Um, Uranus is known as the stable destabilizer of the zodiac. And the only reason that Uranus feels like a destabilizer is because it destabilizes that which has functioned, you know, relatively well and consistent for so long. But anything that requires an upgrade is going to feel destabilized
Yeah.
because it's completely new. The North Node is a mathematical point in the sky. It's one of the lunar nodes. It has to do with the moon, the moon's cycle. The moon has to do with our psychic nature, with our emotions, with our needs. And the North Node is a point that asks us step into the uncomfortable. It's grow up, get a little bit out of your comfort zone. And Uranus, those two coming together, it's very much get out of your comfort zone. And then Mars making its way through, just activating that. Mars is the instigator of the zodiac. Mars represents inflammation. Mars represents having the courage to do these things. So this triple conjunction together in Taurus, and it's interesting that it happens in Taurus because Taurus is the sign of the zodiac that's like, don't change the things, just leave the things as they are. And you have all of this energy saying otherwise. So on top of that, we have the sun, Mercury, our identity and how we process thought in Leo, in opposition to Saturn in Aquarius. So this is Leo energy, Aquarius energy, directly opposite of one another. Of this is what my heart wants, and Saturn is saying, okay, time to step into that, and kind of being like, I want it, but, and then the but's not being sufficient enough to not do it.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to show you the two cards that I have for that simultaneously because August 1st was just a couple of days ago. And
Mm-hmm.
what we have, the star is actually the Aquarius card.
Oh, wow.
And in this deck, it's particularly interesting because, you think about the North Node and, she's attached to this way up
Mm-hmm.
there. She's
Mm-hmm.
also attached to the ground, which again feels like, tethered to Taurus.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have justice, which is this balanced energy. What's interesting though in this deck, there's that other part. There's that what we came from, and
Mm-hmm.
everything's trying to get back into balance. It's like you've set your sights way up here on
Mm-hmm.
this optimistic, 5D world, your higher self, all that stuff that is possible, but you have to make it possible down here on the earth, while maintaining this sense of balance, and then now incorporating all of your integrity and all of your ethics and all of your maturity and your reasonable mind and your earthy groundedness and all of that stuff. In the universe is like every time you decide to rock the boat, it's like, oh no, you can't go there. No, your keys don't work in that door anymore. What door?
Yeah.
No door. It's a brick wall. Come on. It's that kind of thing. It's like, but I'm sure I used to go right here. It's not there because
Mm-mm.
we asked for it. We've adjusted so much that this balance just sort of, the universe's power, I think at this point in time, is stronger than our free will in the moment. We have to really, really fight this to throw it off because of all the work we did in the past. It's not that the universe is making us do something. It's like we have reinstated our intention to the point where the universe is like, great, okay, you've agreed to this, then get out of the way because I'm doing it, whether you like it or not. And we know you like it because you asked for it so strongly. So that's where we're at.
Oh, that's such a great way of putting it. It's finally seeing, like you said, everything we've been asking for, and that opposition to Uranus potentially being like the fear, but because of what the North Node in particular represents, which is very 5D,
Mm-hmm.
this connection between Uranus and the North Node is like a higher octave, right? It's very 5D. I say this a lot in my classes. It takes the mind to catch up to what the soul has known all along. It's time to listen to the soul. And I think that this energy is going to have a lot of people take certain leaps that they may not be able to fully explain, but something really propels them in that direction.
Yeah, and it's almost like, when you think about things that people knew, they
Hmm.
didn't know how they knew them, about their environment, about the earth. They listened
Hmm.
to the earth and it told them. And that was dismissed because we were in this left brain patriarchal way that everything needed to be proven by science. But
Right.
if you scientifically don't know how to do that, you can't prove that part yet. And
Hmm.
so there is that leap now where we're integrating these two aspects and saying this isn't fully it anymore. We have to understand that other part, and that other part takes that leap.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That other part is that inner wisdom. And
yeah.
it lets you know how this very left brain way of thinking is extremely limited and rigid. Um, I think it helps us function in a world where there's 8 billion people, absolutely. But when it comes to, I don't know, even down to self-sovereignty, it's way too limiting. So that takes us to August 2nd, in which we have Venus and Cancer sextile, that triple conjunction. So, which is really interesting because Venus is about balance, relationships, what I desire. Cancer is about the desire for a home, the desire to feel taken care of, the desire to feel nurtured, the desire to come back to self.
Mhm.
Venus sextile, that triple conjunction, if this triple conjunction represents doing life in a completely different way, redefining what stability means, Taurus, Venus in Cancer represents that the way that we felt nurtured and safe and taken care of, that is going to change. And to me, this represents, because Venus is there, creating a different relationship with that. That's one of the interpretations. There are many. I think this also represents how, because Venus in Cancer can be very traditional, and when it's functioning from a lower level of energy, if you will, or lower level of consciousness, it wants to grip onto what it knows. And so the sextile is an invitation. The sextile to the triple conjunction in Taurus is an invitation of loosening the grip and redefining all of those things. But because both Cancer and Taurus are such traditional signs, anything traditional is shifting. And I think we can see that. I think we can see that all, in our, the way relationships work, the way the economy is moving, the rise of gig economy, cryptocurrency, more open relationships, all of these things that people would have never thought of even 10, 20 years ago. It's the letting go of that. It's the destabilization of all of those things. And we get to redefine what that means to us now.
Hmm. Well, the card I have for that is the Nine of Cups, and in this deck, it reminds me, and I've said this many times, it reminds me of the Fool card, where it's this. She looks like she's falling or tripping into this light, and all of these bowls are just filled with this golden energy, and that golden energy represents the higher consciousness. It's the connection to the divine, it's source energy. That's why, when you look at paintings, you know, anything, anybody who's ever depicted as a holy person or a, you know, a higher being has this sort of golden halo around them. And this is a feeling of abundance. So where yeah, on a lower frequency level, it can be security and everything's taken care of and you're manifesting all your basic needs and everything's comfortable and pleasant, all those things that you wanted. But on a different level, it's like if you have one of those, you know, those multi-tools like a Swiss Army knife or something like that, and it's got all those things and it's fantastic and it's abundant and all you need is that. It's got everything you ever wanted. But then there's that other component. If you're up one level in frequency, it's also got a magic wand. You know, it's that kind of thing. And the whole month has that sort of wand energy, which is fire. It's that spark. It's that very masculine yang energy, but in the healthy sense. It's not the toxic patriarchal side of things. It's that
Right.
creation part. It's the manifesting part. It's the ability to receive and not have a shortage.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I think that, and just to piggyback on that, is the remembering of this magical component. Like, I don't think you or I are using that word lightly this month.
No.
There is something very magical about this month that is, if we choose to step into that space, if we choose to see our creativity as a form of a resource rather than looking for outside resources,
Mhm.
that changes everything. That changes everything, and I think that that's important.
Yeah, and like when you think of where do thoughts come from? I mean, it's such an ethereal thing. When you really
Mhm.
try to analyze what that is, what are your thoughts? It is magical. Like
Right.
it's an
Yeah.
indescribable thing.
Yeah. So come August 3rd comes Mercury enters Virgo. So we have a little bit of a grounding energy, right? So Mercury and Virgo, first of all, Mercury rules Virgo. So Mercury is in a home sign. It's going to feel very comfortable. Anytime that a planet is in its home sign, its expression is that much more refined. So Mercury is the planet of communication, cognitive thought, how we perceive the world, how we perceive ourselves. In Virgo is the ability to see the details, the ability to see what others don't see, the ability to make order out of chaos. But because of what Virgo, because of what Mercury and Virgo does throughout the month, and because of everything else happening, to me, this is far more than just making order out of chaos. This is about not like not even giving chaos the time of day. Because Virgo's an earth sign, and with all of this Taurus energy stuff happening, earth signs are very much about less is more.
Hmm.
In order to leave room, in order to leave space. Mercury and Virgo, the energy, the essence is very discerning anyway. And it's about saying, this is what really works and this is what doesn't. This is what works and this is what doesn't. And so if we're aligned with, this is where I want to spend my time, and this is how I want to be treated, and this is who I want to spend my time with, and that is what I want, and I should have it. This Mercury and Virgo is going to help us be discerning about, well, this aligns, this doesn't align with that, this does align with that. And kind of in that way, as we're discerning along the way, there's somewhat of a momentum and a plan being created already simultaneously.
Hmm.
So that should be really interesting. On the flip side, if this triple conjunction between Mars, Uranus, and the North Node, which by the way is strongly active through most of the month, and this energy is hitting you through anxiety, Mercury and Virgo can be analysis paralysis, mental lashing and judgment like no other, just a lot of mental chatter. So be mindful of that.
Well, perfect segue. So we've got the Seven of Swords, and swords are all, they're all mental stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And this is about, traditionally, if you just want to read card meanings, it's about things that are hidden and suspicions or being cheated or, being lied to or sneaky behavior and paranoia and all that kind of stuff. But in connection with that, it's all that stuff. Sure, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean people aren't out to get you, but it's the being able to discern what is and what isn't. And that's what the Seven of Swords is about. It is illuminating the things. It's being able to weave your way through all of those thoughts and ideas and behaviors of like, wow, I used to think this. Boom, the veil is gone. Like it's just standing there going, well, I don't think that anymore. Or
Mm-hmm.
why did I have that feeling about this thing? Oh, because there was this. That's what I was picking up on. It wasn't because of whatever story you've told yourself, but it's like, boom, it's clear. And so that is, it's more about, I guess, uncovering why you had the feelings, why the things were suspicious, why the thing was hidden, you know, who was playing their cards close to the chest kind of thing. What was behind it? What's behind that door? Why am I not allowed to go there?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah, the debilitating thoughts too is also part of that. And so that's the opportunity to get rid of that at this time. So that brings us to today, actually, where we're now.
oh, that's right. That is today, August 3rd. We are recording this on August 3rd, Mercury entering Virgo. So as we head into the weekend on August 7th, we have Venus in Cancer, trine Neptune in Pisces. And at the same time, we have Mars and Taurus create a square to Saturn in Aquarius. So these are very interesting energies because while Venus in Cancer, trine Neptune in Pisces, beautiful weekend for R&R, meditation, yoga, you know, just anything that brings you back to that self, to the soul, that eases, that soothes, especially if the week, like the first week of August, has been something, you
Mm,
know, definitely take advantage of that. Mars and Taurus, Mars and Taurus squaring Saturn in Saturn in Aquarius. This is like, okay, Venus in Cancer, trine Neptune in Pisces can be like extremely creative energy.
mhm,
Mars and Taurus squaring Saturn in Aquarius can be, I want to do the thing, but. So having this drive and then Saturn in Aquarius kind of being an impediment, or Mars and Taurus just saying, I don't want to be this patient. I don't want to wait that long. And Saturn in Aquarius, especially because Saturn is retrograde, saying, wait a minute, we're running a marathon, not a sprint, right? So take advantage of that Venus in Cancer, trine Neptune in Pisces. Let it feel good. Be romantic, be creative, be with people you love. Take care of yourself. Get in touch with that inner self. Do the yoga, do the meditations, go in on a deep internal journey. Do all of the things and understand that because Mars and Saturn, they're very 3D energy, right? They're very like external energy. If you get in touch with that part of your inner self and you allow yourself to be guided by that, there's no need to rush to anything. And that which may seem like an impediment or which may seem like a slowing down, you'll understand how absolutely necessary that is right now. And you can let it go much more easily.
mhm. So I have these two cards that are, they seem really contrasted to each other, which is very much like these two energies. So the first one is this fairy tale, happily ever after, 10 of cups, all the things that feed our soul and
Yeah.
lovey dovey and little painted butterflies and rainbows and unicorns and hugs and kisses and all that stuff. And then with it came the Three of Swords. We put these two things together and we get a really interesting energy. So
Yeah.
bringing into, so this is a little bit fantasy and this is a little bit too much heartache. You know, cups are all about the heart, really, the things that feed and nurture us, and the 10 is the maximum, maximum, maximum. The Three of Swords is all about that pain and agony that we've experienced, the heartache, the heartbreak, the trials, the stuff that was just excruciating, that story we tell ourselves about, you know, I was a victim and this happened to me and that happened to me and my childhood and my partner and I lost, you know, whatever, all that stuff. So we're bringing that energy into this. And it's not to look back at all these things with rose colored glasses, but it's like, yeah, that was your story, but this is possible. So come over here and heal all this stuff. And everything is healed, and let out the big, you know, agonizing scream or whatever is going on there. And this is all patched up though. It's all patched up. It's not disintegrated, and it's, you know, you're still here, you're still alive, you still have a heart that's beating. So go in and experience all this stuff. And it's funny that those two things came out together because they're so typically conflicting, you know? It's like all the pain and heartache and suffering mixed with the happily ever after.
Yes. And it has that feel. And look, Venus in Cancer can go that way, can really wallow in the past and the heartache and all of that. So we want to be mindful of that. But those two cards perfectly illustrate those two energies happening in the same day. That, by the way, they're within orb of one another for several days after that. So if that's what's coming up, what old story keeps you from leaping into the space where things are possible? What old story keeps you stuck from at least trying this new way,
Mm-hmm.
from at least going in this direction? And I think that what happens is that our human mind expects for, well, if I'm going to choose to see things differently and believe it differently, I want to see it like this.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest shift is for you to be able to say, this is the way I looked at something before, and this is the way I'm choosing to look at life now. That is the biggest shift. That's the biggest hurdle. And once we become accustomed to this new way, then things will begin to align. But you have to be committed.
Yeah, it's the mindset.
Right.
It's that internal decision to be like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm full of scars and wounds, you know,
Mhm.
there's all of those things
Mhm.
that are there. Nobody's saying that they didn't happen, but you pick up the pieces and you're like, yeah, but in order to get this, this is what I have to focus on.
Right. Right. So that moves us into Venus in Cancer in opposition to Pluto and Capricorn. So this is going to have a bit of a resonance to that full moon in Capricorn that we had on July 13th.
Mm.
Because at that time, when we have a full moon in Capricorn, we have to have the sun in opposition to the moon. This is happening in the latter degrees of Capricorn, latter degrees of Cancer. So first, to give you some insight, think about what happened around mid-July, what transpired for you with that full moon in Cancer. I got a lot of messages from a lot of people from different directions of, this feels heavy, I found this out, this is what I realized. Now, because this is specifically Venus in Cancer, this is now very much about relationships. And I feel that this is specifically about relationships because that full moon took care of a lot of other things. I think this is the understanding of this is who I want to relate to and not. So when you look at, for instance, the August 7th, what we talked about, yeah, you pick up the pieces and you do this again, but are you going to continue relating? Are you going to continue entertaining those interactions? Are you going to continue entertaining that chaos? And Venus in Cancer in opposition to Pluto and Capricorn can be that part of us that still wants to entertain that shadow part. Why? Why?
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps the answer being, well, I'm afraid of being alone, for instance. And that's not trusting what this triple conjunction in Taurus is telling you that you can have.
Yeah. Yeah. So remember, and I just said, you have to focus on this if you want this,
Mm-hmm.
not this.
Mm-hmm.
It's where you've been,
Mm-hmm.
not driving, looking in the rearview mirror the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
The card we have,
That is sexy.
that is the lovers. They're having
How
fun.
funny.
They're all caught up in there, all,
Mm-hmm.
all the colors, all the swirls, very intense, staring into each other's eyes. Yeah, it's 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 also a card of choice. So the lovers is a choice and it's a number 6. So it's again, it's always about balance and harmony. How do you balance those energies? It's like, yeah, there's a little bit of lust. If it was all lust, it wouldn't last. If
Right.
it's all about the lasting and not anything else, then there's no lust. How do you keep it, who are you
Yeah.
entertaining? Are you entertaining more of this,
Mm-hmm.
victimy, woe is me, all the pain I've had, blah blah blah. That gets old. And I think right now it's like it's really old for the entire collective.
Yes.
We're looking forward. We're going through a doorway. We're entering a new space. We've just dumped all the crap on the other side of the door. We don't want to bring it through. Like we didn't do all that work just to bring all that old crap through the door. So it's pretty spicy. So I'm happy you said relationship because that's exactly what this card is. And if
Yeah.
it's not in a romantic sense, it just means that, balancing of personal relationships, like anything. Who are you relating to? Who are you spending time with? This
Mhm.
all that energy fills your space, it fills your thoughts, it fills your business, it fills your whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How funny that that card came up, because that particular aspect immediately hit me and I'm like, I could talk about money, I could talk about all of these other things, but for some reason this is just relationships right now. How
Hmm.
funny. It's the perfect card for that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on August 11th we have that full moon in Aquarius. This is a pretty forceful full moon in Aquarius. We have Venus entering Leo, which is a fixed sign like Aquarius. We have the sun in Leo squaring Uranus and Taurus, and then we have uh, Mars in Taurus creating a sextile to Neptune in Pisces. So at the time of the moon in Aquarius is going to be conjunct Saturn, Saturn in Aquarius. That in itself is is a heavy aspect. Whenever we have Saturn together with the moon is emotional, the moon is psychic, Saturn is anything but emotional. It's all about material externalization. This can feel heavy. This full moons are a time of recognition, are a time of revelation. If you are resisting the things that you've known, and not just this month, because the entire, or for most of the month, it's fixed energy, fixed signs of the zodiac: Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, Aquarius. This ties back to eclipses of April and May. Stuff that has been coming up that you've been avoiding since then. I feel that this full moon in Aquarius is going to be a very all or nothing. Like, it's going to be done for you. That which you've been avoided is going to be done for you. The square of the sun in Leo to Uranus and Taurus, sun in Leo, us, our identity. What are we identifying with? And the square to Uranus and Taurus is saying, well, you don't identify with that anymore, and we're going to take that away. It's interesting energy, but I feel that if we're stuck, it's exactly what we need.
Mm-hmm. You just won't believe the cards that I and anybody who has been following us all along, you will know that we do not talk about the cards ahead of time.
No,
I don't know what you're going to say, and you don't know what I'm going to say.
no.
So I have 4 cards for those 4 different aspects. So the very first one, full moon in Aquarius. There's our moon. There's our earth. This is the divine feminine. It is the empress. Okay. It's not an easy thing being her. She's got the 4 queens of the tarot in one. She's
Hmm.
highest divine feminine of all the queens. She has all the elements within her and ruled by the moon. Okay, so it's watery energy, it's the sun, the earth, uh, nurturing, loving, no nonsense, connected to source, all of that stuff, energy.
Yep.
Then we go into our Venus uh, in Leo, and this is the Hierophant. This is, again, it's a 5. It's the higher aspects of 5. So the 5s in the minor arcana are all, they're all about change and conflict and struggle. When you get to the major arcana and you have the 5, it's everything at a higher level: spiritual knowledge, relationships, um, learning, it's education, learning, knowledge, you know, that ancestral knowledge, that higher plane consciousness, all of that stuff. You put those 2 things together, this is really positive and potent. All right, let me get into the other part. Whew. Then we get the Tower. We get that lightning bolt, all that energy. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of zapping and synapses firing and sparks going and static energy. Well, this is what happens with that. Some lightning comes down, zaps you, gets the little squirrels, zaps their little nest, and starts a forest fire. Lots of transformation. We have all this, butterflies and everything else. It's like, you drop the magic wand, that magic we were talking about, dragging your feet on something, it just gets taken from you. It's tumultuous, and it clears the slate, and you get to do all this stuff. You get to do all this big stuff that you want to do, but you can't do it without this. It has to be clearing, clear the ground, clear, have a spot for the footings for the new foundation. And the other interesting one here is the 10 of Wands.
Oh
And
my
this,
gosh.
yeah, this is the burden. This is the last part of the struggle. This is the last stretch of the journey. You get to put it all down. You've been carrying this thing, and you're like, okay, we're going through the door. We're the last leg of the trip, and there we go. We're just about there. Just about there.
That is so Mars and Taurus sextile Neptune and Pisces.
Well, and
I know, I
and
know.
it's very, very Taurus there.
Very Mars, very action, Taurus, bull, but because it's a 10, it's that sextile to Neptune and Pisces, that trust, that faith.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of energy. That's
That
a
is a lot of energy. August 11th, after we do our 8-8 portal, and then we
right.
have 3 days. It's still active. The 8-8 portal, I think, is pretty much, it's been active, I think, since July 27th, really, energetically speaking. So it's, yeah, mid-month is yeah, people might feel a little woozy, like,
Yeah, I think mid-month is going to be like decision making time.
hmm
Like, I'll be honest with you, there are things that I'm kind of going back and forth with, and I'm like, I'll
Okay.
know,
Yep.
I'll know. It'll be clear.
Universally to go, yeah, you were deciding between two things. Well, I've just cleared two of them right off, the other one off. The wrong
Right,
one has been removed from your purview.
right, right. So on August 14th, we have that Mars in Taurus create a trine to Pluto in Capricorn. That's powerful. That is really sturdy energy moving forward. Mars and Taurus, which remember is part of this magical triple conjunction. Um, Mars Mars and Taurus is purposeful,
Mm.
purposeful action, because Taurus is earth energy, is grounding energy. But we want to remember that Taurus is also the sign of the body. One of the things that I've been working a lot with my clients in the last, I don't know, 6 to 8 weeks is, what does your body tell you?
Hmm.
How does your body feel when you want to move in or out of that situation? How do you even learn to do that? We don't live in a society that has, you know, put a made that a way of communicating with ourselves. It's very left brain again. We're leaving that behind. How interesting that this expansion and elevation of consciousness is happening in the sign of Taurus,
Hmm.
because it's happening in a grounded earth sign that is the first sign in the zodiac that introduces the body to ourselves. It's the sign of the five senses. And now Mars is there in the middle of this never seen before Uranus North Node conjunction, at least not in our lifetime. And we're being brought back to, how does it feel to me? So Mars and Taurus can represent really feeling within yourself what action to take next. The trine to Pluto and Capricorn. Pluto is the planet of transformation, the shadow part of us. But in Capricorn, it has been how our whole world has transformed in the last 2.5 years, therefore, how we have transformed in the last 2.5 years. And kind of those two forces meeting together and saying, from this space of empowerment, how do you know you need to move forward? And how do you trust that? How do you finally trust that internal sense of empowerment and honor it? Like, it's here. There's no more questioning it.
It's very interesting. We've got the Four of Cups here, and the Four of Cups, everybody always is sort of drawn to like the sadness and the woe is me, and I've got all these same old cups, and isn't that boring and all that. But it's the failure to see the new opportunity. This one, where all the rainbows are, outweighs the same old. And the same old is actually harmful. It's the drama, it's the all the things that deplete our energy and our soul purpose, and keep us from our path, and all of that stuff. But we got used to it, and it was exciting and it was chaotic, and it's like, I'm bored and there's no options, and it's like, excuse me, there's the magical bowl right here with the answer to everything you've ever been looking for. But it's the failure to see that. And so with it, then we have this, the Queen of Swords, and the Queen of Swords is left brain, but it's in that we're not living in the left brain. We're using it when we need to make decisions, when we need to think clearly and see straight and plan something, and you do something definitive. You make decisions, and then you stick with them, or you say you are something and you be that. That's
Right.
what she is. She's sitting there very relaxed, and she's got the coolest sandals and everything. She looks very confident, way up high, clear thinking, clear sky. The air is blowing, messages are coming in. The sword is there, ready to defend, ready to strike, but it's not,
Mm-hmm.
they're fighting, it's not creating chaos. This is comfortable, but it is analytical, but it's not overthinking. It's like, I think when I need to think. I mean, we have a left brain for a reason. It's not, you know,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So they're actually like this, staring at each other. It's like, everything's boring, everything sucks. And this one's going, oh, you foolish thing. You.
I think, look, I think that this is the month where we're finally being like, kind of like the universe saying, you know how you've been doing all of those meditations, you know how you've been doing all that journaling and writing all of those, making those lists of intentions and all of the things. Well, this is where you get to see and actually connect with the magic of these things. These aren't just practices that are supposed to fix something. These things are real.
Mm-hmm.
There is a magic to them. And I think that that's what we're being called to understand in a very real way.
Yeah.
And that the first card that you showed us, the Four of Cups, is that.
Yeah. And it's like
Yeah.
turning you know, getting rid of things in your life or having them removed magically by the universe
Hmm.
may feel like, oh my gosh, there's a void. There's this big empty
Hmm.
space where all of this nonsense used to be.
Hmm.
And it takes a little bit of time before you realize the universe will fill that up with something. Just hold tight. There it
Right.
is, but she's looking over there. She's not seeing the thing that's
Right.
because it's different.
Hmm.
All that magic, all that other stuff doesn't look like the other stuff that you just got rid of.
On that same day, we have the Sun in Leo again, and this opposition to Saturn in Aquarius. We have this opposition of Saturn in Aquarius happening, and so again, the Sun, our vitality, our identity. What do we identify with? How have we? What have we identified ourselves with all along? And then the opposition to Saturn in Aquarius, because Aquarius represents the future, Saturn is the building of a new foundation, is you coming face to face with, this is what I'm leaving behind, because this future that I'm trying to build, these two things don't match.
No.
Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. Uranus is part of that triple conjunction, and Aquarius and Uranus represent an upgrade for a very different future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I mean, technically, this is the air sign
right.
queen. So it's Aquarius again. Yeah.
So on August 18th, we have Venus and Leo trine Jupiter and Aries. This is actually a really fun aspect. So Venus and Leo is, look at me, the spotlight, I'm beautiful, I'm going to wear the red dress, I want to stand out, I want to flirt, I want to love and be loved, I want to be admired. Trine Jupiter and Aries. Jupiter is currently retrograde at this time, but still it's fire meeting fire. Jupiter and Aries, the expansion of the self, the expansion of that, the expansion of creativity, the expansion of love. This day is great for announcements, releases, just creative collaboration. It's a great day for a date. It's a great day for a party. It's fun energy. It's fun energy. And I think that we need it in the middle of all of this. And it's just a reminder of Venus and Leo, the relationship. Leo is actually the sign of love. Jupiter and Aries is the expansion, the optimism that can come with supporting one another. I feel like this is very supportive energy of others as well. It's kind of like, it's very uplifting energy, and
Mm-hmm.
it's there to uplift us, but there for us to uplift others as well.
Yeah, that Leo energy that we have this month is also at a different level. Like I feel like everything, we go through all the months, all the time, year after year, year
Mhm.
after year. It's cyclical, except that it's this spiral that's
Yep.
going. And this month I really feel it
Hmm.
more than I think I've ever felt Leo energy in this
Hmm.
way. So
Mm.
we have our Ace of Cups, leading with the heart, leading with love, listening to that, You know, when you walk into a room, your heart senses things before your brain does.
Right.
And then the thought comes. You feel it first. Whether you're in tune with it or not, that is actually what happens. The vibration goes through your heart chakra first.
Hmm.
You know, it's reacquainting yourself with your heart chakra. It's really
Yeah.
what it is.
It's a beautiful card. It's beautiful energy. So take advantage of that day, or even a few days before, a few days after, to just revel in joy,
Mm-hmm.
love.
Mm-hmm.
August 20th, we have Mars entering Gemini. So this is interesting because we go from kind of a much slower pace Mars in Taurus, which has done everything it's done in the triple conjunction. It smacked us, I feel, into a different level. And now Mars in Gemini, it's like, I want to travel here, I want to go there, but look at this and look at all the options, and I want to meet all the friends, and I want to, make connections everywhere. So Mars in Gemini, Mars in a sign like Gemini, it needs to be in constant movement. I feel like we're going to be in a lot of movement at that time. I mean, even when I think about like what I have to do with my partner, for instance, I told him a few days ago, man, the second half of August is really busy for us. Like we have stuff. And so that's very much Mars and Gemini. But one thing to know about this Mars and Gemini is that Mars and Gemini is going to go retrograde. So whereas Mars stays in a sign for about 6 to 7 weeks, this time we're going to experience Mars and Gemini till March of 2023. So understand that, especially when it comes to agreements, communication, signing of contracts, just when, especially if it has to do with working with another. Gemini is the sign of the twins. It's an air sign. It's a lot of communication, collaborations, ideas. You want to be as organized as possible. You want to make sure that things are in writing. Not Mars and Gemini doesn't give me like a heavy mistrusting energy, but it's very fast moving energy. It's Mars, which is action, and Gemini, which is air. It can be all over the place. Um, we've had two significant retrogrades in the last 2 years in Gemini. One was in Venus, and one was in Mercury during an eclipse season that had to do with Gemini. So this Gemini part of the chart has had a lot of action. We're being told something in the Gemini part. We need to slow down. We need to think before we act. Really consider what projects, what commitments you're getting yourself into, because this is something that, again, is going to unfold till March.
Mm-hmm.
And there might be a little bit of delay, especially towards the end of the year. So I'm sure we'll be talking about Mars and Gemini the next several months.
Well, it's very funny that the card that shows up is the Knight of Pentacles, which is one of the slowest moving cards in the entire deck. If you've ever walked a horse across a lush grassy field, you'll know that you can't go more than 6 inches without the horse wanting to eat the grass.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they will, and he's a knight and he's walking instead of riding the horse, which would definitely be quicker. But it's it's not slow moving in a sluggish way, or that something isn't working, or anything negative. There's no negative connotations to the speed, the lack of speed with which this knight is moving. This is a steady, reliable, solid, full of integrity, um, you know just solid foundation kind of night. It is about contracts. It is about things in writing. The page, the knight, and the king of pentacles all has to do with that. It all has to do with words and numbers and paperwork and documents and things that are official. They take the time that they take if you want them done well. So this is a trusting kind of energy. It's a trustworthy person. It's embodying those very chivalrous kind of qualities, in a person. So if that day was a person, it would be this knight, and slow moving, but it's very deliberate, very, very deliberate. Yeah, reliable, all of those things.
Yeah, that deliberate factor has to. I would highly, highly suggest that you all keep that in mind, because the next day, on August 21st, we have Mercury and Virgo creating an opposition to Neptune in Pisces. This is the planet of communication in its home sign, trying to communicate a lot of things all at once, in opposite to Neptune in Pisces. Mercury in opposition to Neptune is almost worse than a Mercury retrograde.
Mm-hmm.
Neptune, especially in Pisces, both of these planets are in their home signs, so they're very potent. Neptune in Pisces is a lack of clarity. Neptune in Pisces, it can be seeing through rose-colored glasses, or just not being present, completely being up here. And with Mars entering Gemini the day before, look, I cannot stress it enough. It's more of the same thing. Just be very discerning with what you're agreeing to. That day, look, if you have to sign anything on that August 21st, if you can do it a few days before, a few days after, and kind of just skip that day altogether, the better. If you just can't, triple, quadruple, read the things, have someone else that you trust read it. Just because that Neptune in Pisces is just, it creates a little bit of a veil, creates a little bit of a veil.
The card of confusion, daydreaming. I don't know what to pick. There's so many options, so many clauses. Which contract? What person? What notary? What lawyer? What do I do? How do I pick? It's like in the universe going, it's the red one. And he's like, I don't know. Well, I thought this yesterday, but today, I don't know. The wind's blowing a different direction, and like there was a snake and a thing, and I asked for the red one, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit wishy-washy. It's daydreaming, like forgetting to focus on the thing that you've asked for. It's a little bit of a squirrely nature, like, ooh, shiny object. Yeah, but you just want it, yeah, that's what's going on here. So, and in terms of relationships too, this can be like forgetting to focus on the things that are meaningful and getting caught up in like, you know, the lust or the infatuation or the oxytocin, all those
Right.
things. Yeah, yeah, confusion.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So you've been warned. On August 22nd, we have the sun entering Virgo. So it's the end of Leo season, the beginning of Virgo season. So more of that communication, more of that detail energy. And on August 22nd, we have Mercury in Virgo trine Pluto in Capricorn. So if you just need to wait, because August 22nd is actually a Monday, if you just need to wait like to that Monday, Tuesday
Mm-hmm.
to sign something, to agree to something, highly, highly suggest it, right? Just be mindful of that. So sun entering Virgo, it's more of, okay, the thing that I'm thinking is, look, this magical energy that we're talking about is real. Once we move into Virgo, don't get in the way of that. Use the Virgo energy to be discerning about what honors what you now know is true for you. Use Virgo energy in that way. Don't overthink things. Be very careful of the overly critical mind. that Mercury and Virgo trine Pluto and Capricorn, again, Pluto and Capricorn, the empowerment that comes from the transformation we've endured over the last 2.5 years, and Mercury and Virgo just kind of being clear. Less is more. Especially with Virgo, we want less, because Virgo is, it focuses on everything. It focuses on the details of everything, and the details of too many things is very overwhelming. So when we discern, when we are mindful of less is more, that trine is power of the mind, power of word. Now contracts are different. We can sign something and it's, it's much more permanent. So yeah.
Very interesting cards because, I always tease my Virgo friends, use your powers of OCD for good because they are very good at that. So if
Yes.
you need something meticulous done, you need somebody to pay attention to the numbers, the decimal points, like whatever, all those little details, give them to a Virgo. I need my filing cabinet organized. Well, it will get done. So it's when you focus on the positive aspects of this, it's really phenomenal. So we have the sun and we have the 6 of Wands on that day. And this is just embracing we're moving out of Leo season. We're going into this practical, meticulous, hyper focused, whatever. The sun is magical. Look at what the sun does. It also can create, we have solar storms that like wipe out technology. Like, how does that happen? Like, again, stuff, that's just beyond our, little
Yep.
minds. But then there's this embracing it. This is victory. This is, patting yourself on the back for a job well done. It's like you could pick 3 things and focus on them really, really well and be like, wow, look at, I did that just like a Virgo.
Which is a really big deal.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal. No one can do Virgo like Virgos do Virgo. Um, okay, on the next day, we have on August 24th, actually, we have Uranus moving retrograde till January 2023. So this is important because I feel, first of all, I feel like our nervous systems are going to take a break. Since about, I would go as far back as late March
Mm.
through August, because we went through those eclipses, and then July was a heavy month, and then August will be what it is with everything we've talked about so far. Uranus, again, it's the higher octave. It rules the nervous system. It's in Taurus, the sign of the body. It's been incredibly agitated, activated. Uranus moving retrograde, it slows that down, which is nice. But what's happening? I feel like Uranus going retrograde is the reconfiguration of us,
Mm.
of all of the downloads that have happened, especially the first half of August, of all of that magic that we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like we're using the term magic because I don't know what else to call it in my very small human mind, right? And Uranus moving retrograde till January is, especially if we're intentional about it, the reconfiguration of our entire being to accepting that this is the new truth, that we can live our lives and we can build a life based on this magic that we've been talking about so far.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's an ethereal quality. It's it's all that stuff. When we don't see radio waves, we don't see thought, we don't see electromagnetic waves, and we receive and send all of this stuff all the time. When we wake up, we fall asleep, there's like a little rush of DMT. We don't even realize we have that. We're not regulating our body's hormones. There's an electrical impulse for me to do this with my hand. It comes from my thought to my hand. I'm not sending electricity there. All I see is the result of this. So we've got the 8 of Wands, which again is this fiery energy. It's thought, it's um, this cohesion, this everything coming to this point. But at the same time, it's typically fast energy. It's like all thoughts converging. But we don't need all the thoughts. So when we think about just, what we were just talking about a couple of days before, we don't need all of the Virgo all of the time, every meticulous thing done at once. It's just some of these things we keep, some of them we just look at and they pass by. They're like they're like arrows, or thoughts that fly past you and land. We don't need to catch all of them. Sometimes you can just watch. You can watch all of them and see what makes sense to you. That's that is this energy. It's energy of communication and thought and sparks and everything, imagination and things coming to you, things flying past you. But it's a very positive, moving kind of energy. It's not,
Yeah.
there's nothing stagnant, there's nothing old. It's fresh, it's new, it's creative, it's ethereal. um it's luminescent, all of
Right.
those things.
I think that's a really beautiful card. And just to ground that interpretation of Uranus going retrograde a little more, let's say that, the second half of July and this first part of August, you realize I'm gonna cut out this habit. I'm gonna stop that pattern. Well, Uranus moving retrograde, because Uranus is a higher octave than Mercury. Uranus is 5D, Mercury is 3D. You can use Uranus going retrograde till January to say, oh, okay, I'm gonna do therapy and I'm gonna completely transform that behavior, right? I'm gonna cut out that habit. So what do I need to do? I'm gonna work with a coach for whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good thing.
Yes.
This is a good thing. And I think that the card for that is so perfect.
And it is a lot about communication, in not in just, oh, I'm speaking words. It's, I am speaking words that manifest into being. I'm receiving information that manifest into thought. I'm seeking answers, and a truck goes by with a word on it that ignites an idea. It's
Yeah.
all of that stuff. And I mean, you could call that magic, you could call it synchronicity, you could call it divine intervention. There's, whatever it is, but they converge at you right there.
Yep. Okay. The next day, we have Mercury moving away from Virgo and entering the sign of Libra. So, Libra, the planet of relationships, balance, aesthetic, beauty. And you want to be mindful that Mercury is going to go retrograde in Libra. I feel like we haven't talked about a Mercury retrograde in so long. Mercury is going to retrograde in Libra in September, but Mercury enters Libra on August 25th. So this is going to start conversations, um, perhaps, well, especially because it's going to go retrograde later in September, some conversations in relationships, whether it's romantic or someone you're having like again an association with of some sort, and or a contract, especially because of that Mars entering Gemini energy, a lot of air energy. So this energy of agreements, you and another. When it comes to relationships, romantic relationships, there's a shift. There's a shift in the first part of the month, the first 2/3 of the month.
Mm-hmm.
There's a significant shift with that full moon in Aquarius. This Mercury entering Libra and what it's going to do in September when it retrogrades, I feel it's kind of like a recalibration of relationships. It's we used to function this way, but we're not. It's like we're married, but we're actually choosing to live in two different states because they have a dream that they're chasing over there, and I have a dream that I'm fulfilling over here, and that's okay because we love each other. And this is what I mean by the evolution of things and tradition. Mercury in Libra is just taking the time to kind of get back on the same page with people of how we're going to move forward from this point on.
So we've got the Ace of Wands. And in this deck, it's depicted really in the inspiration kind of place in that third eye. It's typically depicted just as this wand, like a match. Like, so if you imagine this would be the match head and there's a wand attached to it. It's that everything that we've been talking about is at a higher octave. This, like every card, it's not the usual meaning. It's like the graded, one level up. It's the same thing. It's just enhanced somehow. And so it's typically a masculine um, card. It's this, that first spark. It's that, it's typically it's a phallic symbol, generally speaking, and it's that creative power in a very literal sense. But because everything's turned up a notch, everything goes up to 11 in this month, it's like, well, how do I create? I'm used to creating that way, but now I'm going to create something this way. So what does that look like? It's like the thinking outside of the box. How do we do something new? We're doing everything else new. Then yeah, Libra, and that balance, and that and when I think about last year too, when we had Mercury retrograde kind of in the same time period. I mean, it's slightly
Right.
off, but that was very relationship oriented. And again, we're not repeating the same thing again. We're having that relationship retrograde, that revisit. It's almost like a revisit of, okay, now so what did you learn? It's like you've done this whole year of lessons and you're passing a little exam, and it's like, now what have you learned before you get to the next grade, is kind of what it is in that realm. And it's like,
Yeah.
it comes from here. It's not the typical masculine wand energy. It's like, yeah, but how do I bring that to the next level? Well, it's in here. It's in that visionary place. Yeah.
That's really interesting because Mercury does well in Libra.
Hmm.
Libra is a sign of the law, of justice, of seeing both sides of a story, right? Being the mediator, weighing both options. And Mercury is about thought. Here's another aspect where I would suggest not overthinking things. Like, just because you have to hold two things at once doesn't always mean that you have to immediately choose one to release the other.
Hmm.
Again, because Mercury is going to go retrograde, especially if you're on like balancing two things. I don't know how to answer that just now. That's okay. But you're going to have to weigh some options, and you will eventually have to make a decision about something. But understand that this is going to be a weighing of things, like this or that. And sometimes balance is created in just holding.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's kind of, when I think of this thinking outside the box kind of thing, wands they're not thought, they're that other thing. They're that creativity, and creativity is receptive, and yet the wand is active masculine. So it's like, okay, when you talk about carrying two things, it's like, well, how do I carry water and a vessel? Well, I put the water in the vessel. Haha, I have another way of carrying something. Or it's,
Yeah.
how do I carry steam? Well, you have to condense it and then put it in the vessel. So it's like this other way of like envisioning something in order to move forward with it.
Yeah. That's a really great point. We'll see. Okay, August 26th, we have Venus and Leo. We have two different squares and two different modalities. So this can be kind of a hectic day. So we have Venus and Leo square Uranus and Taurus on one end. That's two fixed signs at tension with one another. And then we have the Sun and Virgo create a square to Mars and Gemini. That's two mutable signs in tension with one another. What I'm noticing is that we have both cosmic lovers, Venus and Mars, in tension. So a few interpretations. Venus square Uranus, Venus and Leo, relationships, love, square Uranus and Taurus. This can mean you're out and you meet someone and there's a spark and all of a sudden you're just in love with one another and you want to be with each other. But Uranus, anything that has to do with Uranus can be momentary, especially Venus. So be mindful of that. If you want to have fun, this is a great aspect for fun. Now, Venus and Leo square Uranus and Taurus, let's say that you're already in a relationship. This can be like someone loses it just and catches you off guard, like what's going on? Not understanding where this is coming from, whatever this is, right? Venus and Leo square Uranus and Taurus, from a more collective perspective, this can be a change in the market, a shift in money. Inflation is a big thing right now. So let's see what comes up with that. Now, Sun in Virgo square Mars in Gemini. So we have both Virgo and Gemini, signs of communication. That's a lot of information coming at us. A lot of information coming at us from many different directions very quickly. On an individual perspective, this is not the day to try to get someone to understand where you're coming from. But you have to listen to me and you have to see what I'm trying to say. It's just not going to happen. Give it a day. On a collective perspective, this is a lot of things coming at us from different directions and us not being able to see what's what. So it's kind of icky energy. It's not my favorite day.
So it's funny because these two cards are very conflicting, and it is similar to what you're saying, because this is like on a positive level, this could be having escaped something and landing in something that's new and solid, but you don't really know yet if it's new and solid, but it looks new and solid. I mean, it's definitely new. We don't know how solid it is. It has a lot of potential, for growth. That could be money. It could be, an opportunity. It could be a relationship. It could be a lot of things. It's the beginning of something that has potential.
Right.
This could be running from, this could be running to, this could be escaping difficulty, this could be escaping something and hopping on to the first available thing you find.
Right.
Not always a good thing, out of the fire into the frying pan. So it's a little bit of a, this on its own, great. It's great. It's not really negative. This on its own is probably escaping difficulty. There's a lot of, we have these birds in the air. That's our thoughts kind of running along with us, choppy waters. She's not really navigating this. She's letting the current take her away. She's standing up in a boat, so it's relatively stable, but these two things together, it's jarring me, actually, because it's like driving with the brake on, or like, somebody who's learning how to drive stick shift for the first time. It's a lot of
Yes.
oh, that looks good. No, don't. I don't know. Yeah, it's a bit back and forth, chaotic with the energy, and it doesn't even feel like two options. It's not like you're waffling between two things. It's like, somebody says swimming pool and the other person says pizza. Like they're completely unrelated. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly it. It's a perfect way of putting that. I when I sent you these notes, I thought, I don't really know what to make of that, other than it's just, I'm just going to stay in that day and let the energy do what it's going to do. Okay. So the following day, we have the new moon in Virgo. So this new moon in Virgo, um, it's a good one because it's going, the major aspect of the new moon in Virgo is that it has a trine to that Taurus energy, that Uranus North Node connection. It's somewhat of a wide orb in conjunction, but it's still it's still a trine nonetheless. So this Virgo energy, new moon in Virgo, setting an intention for a plan, right? So again, this is where the left brain can come in and say, this is the thing that I'm going to move away from now. How do I create a plan to actually move away from it within the next 6 to 8 months, right? But that connection, that trine to the Uranus North Node is this plan needs to be in favor of this magic that we're talking about. This thing that brings you out of your human comfort zone and is asking you to trust that higher self. So we have this new moon with Mars in Gemini. So remember, Mars is going to retrograde at some point. So understand that this plan that you're setting in motion now, usually the full moons in Virgo will happen around February, but because Mars is going to remain in Gemini till March, any intention set for this new moon, again, we're not going to see it, I feel, till about March, maybe later on in March. So just a little bit longer. And it makes sense. It makes sense because if we're setting a plan for something that we've never done before, we have to be okay with trial and error along the process.
Yeah. So Five of Pentacles. Okay, it looks like a little bit of a sad card. She's all dressed up. She's crying. She looks like she went somewhere. It's not like she has nowhere to go, but she's crying because she can't get in the door, although there's a giant key there, because there's that part of her, again, about manifesting something, something solid, something material, something tangible. And she's sitting there like, woe is me, I'm left out, I don't know how to do it, and somebody needs to help me. And I just, and like the universe going, hey, there's a big key there. There's the key to the door. She's not ready to unlock it yet. And it's, traditionally it was a card about poverty, or losing your assets or something like that. In the positive sense, because, all these fives, again, we're upgrading all of the energies. It's about, well, can I move forward with less? So we look at the things that are happening in the financial market, and the things that, how do you plan then for those next however many months, that is like until March, basically. Can you
Right.
do it? Can you do it on less whatever? Is it less attention to it, or is it less time, higher focus? Is it less people? You need to have a big grandiose plan, or can you get by with, sometimes when we create out of a place of restriction, you create something way more phenomenal, as opposed to sitting in this woe is me, I don't have everything I need, so I can't make it kind of energy. It's like going, yeah, but if we remove some of those things, then you get to manifest something even more fascinating, because like, if necessity is the mother of invention, I think, restriction is the mother of creativity or innovation. It's that kind of energy that's there.
Absolutely.
It's pentacles, so it's again earthy, tangible, material kind of energy.
Yeah, that's spot on, totally spot on, especially with Virgo energy.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, on August 28th, we have Venus and Leo create an opposition to Saturn in Aquarius. So anytime we have any kind of connection between Venus and Saturn, it can be, I desire something, but it's going to take a lot of work to get it because of Saturn. So Saturn can represent some kind of restriction. So Venus and Leo, I have this really, this great project that I have in mind, and I'm feeling so creative, and it's really grand and big, and Leo, and very true to Leo nature, right? And Saturn, especially retrograde in Aquarius. Okay, but and what about what's the plan? And what's the thing? Look, remember, any delay is it's is welcomed right now. It's okay. It's okay for delays to happen right now. Now, if this is regarding relationships, because any opposition usually represents some kind of confrontation or difficult conversation. If you need to have a conversation with someone, and you definitely don't want to have it on that August 26th, the 28th might be a better day.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the very least you have the you're standing in front of one another. Because both of these signs are fixed signs, it might be still a little difficult to get through the other person, because both people might be just sinking their heels into what they know. But if you're both open, then this is a lot of love and a lot of collaboration with one another, a lot of willingness to understand one another, because Leo is love and Aquarius is, okay, I see you for who you are, see me for who I am. We're both putting everything on the table, what's happening. And then being able to create something solid from that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely energy that does create movement, because oppositions tend to do that, which is good. Just understand that it's still, because it's fixed energy, it can feel a bit forceful. So if you're trying to converse with someone about something, be mindful of how you come to them with that.
I'm happy you used the word collaboration, because we have the Three of Cups, and it's funny. I don't know. In recent years, this card sort of ended up as being what do they call it? Like a third party kind of situation in a romantic sense. And I've never felt that with this card. It's always about collaboration and celebration and finding the elements that connect people. And it's also interesting that we've got Pleiades happening here, which is, just here's these, it's like the Seven Sisters, and then we've got these women,
Mm-hmm.
they're all dressed up.
Mm-hmm.
It's often a card of like engagements, or a momentous occasion, or a celebration, or a birthday party, or an outing, or a social gathering of some kind. But it's finding the things that unite, that you can collaborate on, some shared vision, some common goal. And you're not doing it alone. You don't have to do it alone.
Right.
But you also don't need to have everything matching with whoever you collaborate with. It just needs to be that thing. You need that thing from that person in order to do this, whatever it is. And
Yes.
there's also the fact that it's a number three. It's the, you and I, that's two, but together we actually make three, because that's you and me and us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's, kind of symbolic of what's there.
I I don't, a lot of times oppositions are described as something bad, or like a bad aspect in astrology. And I think that oppositions just give us an opportunity to confront and face the things that we need to confront and face. It's right across from us. It's a 180-degree angle.
Yeah.
So it creates a mirror effect. So that's if you all find that helpful as well, understand that if this is in a relationship,
Mm-hmm.
another is always there to mirror us, and vice versa. So try to find that collaboration. You're not against one another, you're actually here to help one another. So that's August.
Whew.
Yeah, that's August. It's a month that I feel we need. I find that sometimes we can get stuck on the I'm still healing. I need to, I still need to process this. And while those things may be true,
Mm-hmm.
life doesn't stop. And so there's a difference in holding space for some of the healing and some of the processes that does need to take place. And then and actually doing something about that, because sometimes we can also get stuck in the thought of just that needs to get done and never actually doing something about it.
Yeah.
But moving forward, just really moving forward from this higher level of consciousness, we're being called back to the language of our body, to what our soul is telling us. Like all of these things that I feel that a lot of practitioners and teachers, tarotists, astrologers have been talking about for 30 years, because I'm using the Saturn to Saturn in Aquarius transit. It's finally coming to fruition. Like it's finally coming up. It's finally becoming real. That magic is finally, I feel it's finally palpable. And I think that the last 2.5 years is people opened up.
Yeah, it's become we're making the ethereal tangible
Yep.
for a change.
Yep.
They're not separate things. And
No.
it's, when you talk about the 180 perspective, it's like, take a pen. This is the opposite of this, but they're connected by this thing, and it's just a question of perspective. That's all.
Yep. Yep. So thank you so much, Susheela. As always, this is so much fun. We hope this is helpful to you all. For those of you who share our videos and like our stuff and have subscribed, thank you so much. Continue sharing with your friends, and we'll see you next month.
Yeah, enjoy Leo season.
Bye.
Bye.